Have you ever felt that eerie chill when a favorite artist's voice suddenly disappears from the airwaves? Their songs defined entire eras, but then, just like that, they vanished in a flash of heartbreak. Buckle up. This is a ride through fame, mystery, and haunting final notes that continue to echo across generations. The groundbreaking pioneers. Long before music was defined by social media streams and digital downloads, a handful of fearless women were already forging new paths. They didn't just break the mold, they redefined what it meant to be a female artist under the unforgiving spotlight of public scrutiny. Two names stand out whenever early legends are mentioned: Billie Holiday and Dinah Washington. Billie Holiday, a voice carved from struggle. Billie Holiday, often called Lady Day, transformed jazz and blues with a rawness that no one else could mimic. She sang like her life depended on it. Each note was a glimpse into her soul. But for all her success, rumors of unrelenting hardships lingered. Whispered tales suggested she wrestled with powerful industry figures. Accusations surfaced that she was targeted by certain authorities who disliked her defiant attitude and her deep connection to black culture. Legal entanglements piled up, culminating in the challenges that would eventually consume her. By the time she passed, many suspected the stress of constant battles, both personal and systemic, had stolen her final breath. She remains a crucial piece of music history, fueling countless debates about how deeply personal pain can shape an artist's greatest work. Dinah Washington, the Queen, with an unfinished reign. Next, we can't ignore the brilliance of Dinah Washington. Nicknamed the Queen of the Blues, she dominated the 1950s with a sultry voice that was impossible to forget. The pressure to maintain her public image often led to conflicts behind the curtain, with some claiming that label executives tried to mold her style too heavily. While she struck hits that soared up the charts, those who knew her best hinted at emotional turmoil hidden beneath her polished facade. She ultimately died young, and though the official explanation was that she'd OD'd on prescription medication, speculation suggests she struggled with an overwhelming burden of expectations and heartbreak. Even decades later, music historians are still piecing together the mosaic of her remarkable but turbulent life. Even in these early days, we see how the music industry can exalt an artist one moment and devour them the next. Yet, as the decades rolled on, each new era brought its own icons, battles, and heartbreaks. If you think the 50s were rough, you won't believe the roller coaster of triumph and tragedy awaiting in the 1960s and 70s. But the arrival of rock, soul, and shifting cultural norms in the 60s and 70s brought a whole new set of voices and tragedies that would unsettle fans for decades. Turbulent 60s and 70s. When people reflect on music's most defining eras, the 1960s and 70s often rank at the top. This was a time of protests, free love, and revolutionary sounds. Behind the scenes, though, the industry churned with an unrelenting pace, chewing up talent and spitting them out. Three figures from this era stand out not just for their breathtaking voices, but for the stories that ended in heartbreak far too soon. Janis Joplin, Cass Elliot, and Karen Carpenter. Janis Joplin, bold, unapologetic, and gone too soon. Janis Joplin burst onto the music scene like an exploding star, shining fierce and fast. Known for her raspy, soul-bearing vocals, she redefined what it meant to be a rock front woman. She wasn't the polished pop princess. She was raw, she was real, and she refused to be anything else. Fans adored her authentic spirit, but rumors swirled of constant partying and substance indulgence. Surviving members of her social circle whispered that Joplin often felt lonely and misunderstood, even with her defiant public image. She ultimately OD'd at just 27, fueling the legend of the infamous 27 Club. Her story continues to spark intense debates. Was it a random tragedy, or was the system stacked against a free spirit who refused to conform? Cass Elliot, the mama, with an angelic voice. While Janis was forging the rock-chic path, Cass Elliot was capturing hearts through the melodic tunes of the mamas and the papas. Nicknamed Mama Cass, she had a radiant aura and a voice that soared effortlessly over layered harmonies. On stage, she beamed with energy, but behind the scenes, the scrutiny was relentless. Whispers circled regarding tension within the group, rumored heartbreaks, and a never-ending battle with body image-related stress. In 1974, she died of heart failure at age 32, just as she was proving that her solo ambitions could match her group success. The abruptness of her passing left fans reeling, sparking outlandish theories. Some insisted something more sinister was at play. Others pointed to exhaustion from an industry that gave her little room to breathe. Regardless, Cass Elliot's part in shaping the folk rock era remains untouchable. Karen Carpenter, a soft-spoken tragedy. On a different musical wavelength, Karen Carpenter and her brother Richard delivered gentle pop ballads that contrasted sharply with the more rebellious tunes of the decade. Karen's velvety, almost angelic vocals made even the most melancholy songs sound comforting. Yet she silently battled an eating disorder at a time when such topics were almost never publicly acknowledged. Friends spoke of her quiet desperation, fighting a personal war in an industry fixated on image. Despite mounting success, she felt a constant need to slim down. Ultimately, those health struggles proved too great. Her death at 32 shocked the public and led many to ask why nobody intervened sooner. Even now, her story remains a cautionary tale about how hidden pressures can unravel the biggest stars. Their songs shifted culture, but they weren't alone. The 80s and 90s produced a new wave of fierce talent, yet heartbreak would strike again. Defining the 80s and 90s. The music industry changed rapidly in the 80s and 90s with TV, flashy music videos, and unstoppable PR machines shaping careers. This era gave rise to legends who dazzled the world, only to face personal battles that the public never fully understood. Whitney Houston, Selena, Aaliyah, and Lisa Left Eye Lopes each soared to unimaginable heights and left us with painful what could have beens. Whitney Houston, the greatest voice, meets unrelenting pressures. Whitney Houston's voice broke records and shattered barriers. From her early days modeling and singing backup, she evolved into a pop powerhouse whose vocals towered over the competition. Yet behind every chart-topping hit lurked hidden stress. Accusations surfaced that controlling figures in her life, combined with relentless paparazzi, left her isolated. Conflicting reports swirl about when her personal struggles truly began, but it's clear the pressures grew insurmountable. She drowned under tragic circumstances, with substance use and a heart condition cited in official reports. Even so, fans speculate about what truly led to that final, fatal moment. Whether her downfall was the result of personal demons, exploitative relationships, or both, one truth remains. Her unmatched range changed pop music forever. Selena, a shattered dream in Tejano music. Selena Quintanilla Perez carried the spirit of her Mexican-American heritage onto global stages, making Tejano music mainstream. She was beloved for her mesmerizing dance moves, warm personality, and unstoppable drive. She even branched out into fashion design, showing the world she wasn't just a singer, she was a full-blown cultural icon. But everything changed in 1995 when she was shot by someone she once considered a trusted ally. The brazen act left fans stunned, sparking controversies about how a person so close could commit such a crime. Officially, the event seemed cut and dry, a betrayal by a former fan club president with festering disputes. Yet persistent rumors suggest deeper issues involving financial mismanagement and personal vendettas. Selena's death at just 23 halted a cross-cultural revolution that might have changed pop music forever. Her posthumous album Dreaming of You further cemented her unstoppable potential. Aaliyah, the princess on the edge of a new era. In the mid-90s, Aaliyah redefined R&B with a sleek, futuristic sound. She was a trendsetter who balanced sultry vibes with a youthful energy that resonated with multiple generations. Industry whispers highlight controversies around her early personal life, particularly an illegal marriage that was later annulled, and how that shaped her. Still, she pushed forward, landing movie roles, topping charts, and setting fashion trends. By her third album, she was unstoppable, rumored to be on track for even bigger crossovers. Then, a 2001 plane crash tore her from the world at just 22. Conspiracies popped up immediately, with some fans pointing to negligence around that flight or even sabotage. Official reports blame weight miscalculations on the small aircraft, but the sense of unfinished business still leaves a haunting echo. Lisa Left Eye Lopes, the visionary behind TLC. Lisa Lopes stood out in the trio TLC thanks to her playful raps, edgy style, and unfiltered honesty. She was never afraid to speak up about the music business or her personal life, occasionally ruffling feathers both inside and outside the group. At one point, accusations surfaced of an unstable relationship that included a famous incident where a mansion was set ablaze. Some say it was a heated reaction. Others call it an accident. Despite the controversies, her musical touch helped make TLC one of the best-selling girl groups of all time. Tragically, she died in a car crash during a spiritual retreat in Honduras. Fans still question if there was more to the story, given that she had documented her trip with the hope of uncovering personal truths. Though official explanations chalk it up to an unfortunate accident, her passing at 30 slammed the brakes on what could have been a groundbreaking solo evolution. From unstoppable chart toppers to hidden battles, the 80s and 90s had no shortage of tragedy. But the new millennium introduced fresh stars thrust into an even faster-paced world, and heartbreak was never far behind. Heartbreak in the 2000s. The 2000s introduced a new age of music consumption. Social media expanded fan reach, but also magnified every personal challenge. For some of the brightest up-and-coming performers, the mounting glare became impossible to escape. The stories of Amy Winehouse, Christina Grimmie, and Simone Battle remain especially poignant, reflecting the era's intense and, at times, punishing spotlight. Amy Winehouse, the soulful rebel. With a voice draped in vintage jazz influences and a persona that defied convention, Amy Winehouse seemed destined for legend status. Her album Back to Black catapulted her to global stardom, generating awards and reverence from both fans and critics. Yet, from the start, hints of trouble were always there. Tabloids never gave her a moment's peace, broadcasting every slip-up in her personal life. Some said her relationships were toxic. Others alleged the music industry encouraged her rebellious brand for profit, ignoring that behind the defiance lay deep-rooted struggles. Eventually, she was found dead from alcohol poisoning, just 27 years old, another member of that haunting 27 Club. To this day, people debate if better support systems or less invasive media coverage might have altered her fate. Christina Grimmie, talent nurtured by the internet. Before shows like The Voice discovered her, Christina Grimmie was a YouTube sensation who amassed millions of subscribers simply by singing in her bedroom. Her humble roots and down-to-earth persona made her an instant fan favorite. After finishing in the top 3 of The Voice, big label dreams beckoned. But in 2016, she was fatally shot during a meet-and-greet session in Orlando. Investigators labeled the attack the work of a deranged individual acting alone. Fans questioned how someone could get so close to her, pointing to poor event security. The tragedy sparked new calls for safety at public appearances. Her legacy as a beacon for aspiring musicians remains intact, but the heartbreak of losing her at just 22 still lingers as a grim reminder of the dark sides of fame